Well, I like to use binoculars to look at the sky. And the hardest part about using them is not only the crick it puts in your neck, but holding them steady. And I'm sure everybody's had that same problem. When we have star parties out at Pinnacle, one of the most frequent questions I get is, what kind of telescope should I buy? Because I want to get into astronomy. And I say, don't buy a telescope, go to somewhere where it's dark and just look up and take your binoculars with you. And people say, well, I never thought of that, because I'll ask them if they have binoculars. And a lot of times they haven't put two and two together and thought about it. And binoculars are light. Some of them are. These little binoculars, I got these off of Amazon for less than $20. They're 5 times, and they have really small objective lenses in them, so they don't gather much light. But if they're in my glove box in my car all the time, I can use them when I go out and look at things. And these are extremely easy to hold steady because there's really no serious amount of magnification there at 5 times. So that's where I start with some binoculars. And then I've got some 7x35 binoculars that are real light and easy to handle. And they usually don't require any mounting. And they're good if you just want to look at the sky and see a broad area and see, just kind of get an idea of what's up and see the bigger picture. But
you could mount them if you wanted.
You sure could. You're not really going to use these to look at smaller objects in the sky. You just kind of, like if you're using your telescope and want to get oriented as you try to find places. But every pair of binoculars has a little secret. Well, not these little ones, but there is a 1/4x20 socket in binoculars in the hinge in the middle, and that can be taken advantage of to mount them. So if you're trying to look at objects, specific objects, like if you get a copy of Binocular Highlights that Sky and Telescope published, or Phil Harrington's book, Touring the Universe Through Binoculars, or here's a Leslie Peltier book that had another name, but they repackaged it as the Binocular Stargazer. You're going to look at objects that are not just the broad sky, and you need to hold those binoculars steady. So when I get up to my 10-power binoculars, that's where I can hold them fairly steady. But Jupiter, for example, is a good example. If I try to look at Jupiter and see the moons with these, I usually can't hold them steady enough. So these have, as all binoculars do, all decent sized binoculars, you pull this little cap off and you get to this 1/4x20 screw. So I've tinkered a lot with my mounts trying to hold binoculars steady, and I'll walk you through a few of them and tell you what works probably the best as far as I've been able to find. First thing is just propping them up on something. A man named Alan Adler, who has invented several things, including the AeroBee, which is that frisbee with a hole in it. He's also invented something called the AeroPress, a little coffee press that people like to buy, and I think it costs a lot of money. But he, in that Binocular Highlights book, just said, hey, get a piece of rounded wood and put it on the top of a stick or a monopod and sit in a chair and hold that bottom part with your feet. And you can rock this back and forth to get a little bit of up and down, and you can go side to side that way. So this works okay. It's decent for light binoculars. One of the things is you've got to get it up high, and sometimes these monopods are not very long. But you can use something as simple as that, just a stick to hold your binocular steady. And that's been something that I messed with for a little while, and it would probably be good in a pinch. So taking advantage of the screw that's in these things, or the socket that's in it, I've got a bunch of these 1/4x20 bowls.
And it's adjustable too, right?
Oh yeah, you can go up and down with that. The simplest thing you can do is just put a stick on your binoculars. And there's some kind of Norwegian or Swedish bird watching stick that they put on their binoculars, and they rest it on their chest as they look at birds, and they've got a point of contact here, and then however they hold it with their eyes up here. I have to have, since I wear glasses and I don't want to take them off to look through the binoculars, I lose a lot of field of view, but it helps make sure I don't have astigmatism problems. But just a stick, and if you're looking up, you're able to hold it pretty steady with just that stick, and this is not even tight in here. I could tighten it down. I've got a little wrench, and sometimes if you put a thumb screw on it, that's a better thing to do, to get one that's got the little flat part on it. But just a little stick does so much to help you as you just need to get the wiggle out of these things, just enough to see things like Jupiter's moons. And of course, people say, well, put them on a tripod. And I've tried that, and it's got an inherent problem. This, yeah, that's right. This tripod's too short. So you have to get a taller one like that one. And this one's got, a center column that goes up. But even if it were high enough, yeah, you'd have to squat down. So you don't want to do the squat. And I'm going to show you when I get to my last one, I'll show you how that problem is solvable. But the other problem is you're in the tripod. So even if it were taller, you're in the tripod before you're looking up. One member of the club said he uses his in a zero gravity chair and just uses the tripod and lays that on him so that he's able to get some contact with it. How many of you use binoculars and you can see your heartbeat while you're using it? That's pretty annoying too, but there's not a whole lot you can do with it unless you can get it completely hands-free. So that's the idea. And a tripod works great if you're just looking at birds or something. But when you try to look at the sky, if you're way up and it's tall enough, you're still going to be under your tripod. You're going to be in the way of the tripod. So that's one of the reasons that I kept messing around with stuff and kept trying to come up with different ways to do things. So if you get too big, if you get heavy ones like that, and the club has some, you need something completely different from what I've got here tonight. And there's a parallelogram mount in the club equipment area that has the ability to hold these and to keep them steady because it's got a counterweight system.
Is that what you attach the mount to, the center?
You sure do. And then you've got a way to change the balance point there. So this is like having two telescopes, though. I mean, so it's nice because you've got, these are 80 millimeter objectives by 20 power. So it's like using two short tube 80s or something and looking at the sky. So there's an advantage in using these, but it's a lot of work.
What's the best objective you can get? 80 or?
Oh, they're bigger ones.
They're 300 millimeters, yeah.
Get monster ones.
I think the biggest I've seen is 600 millimeter.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So there are two things that I've tried in the last couple of years to improve how I'm able to hold the telescope. So this is a monopod, but it's too short. But it makes a good stick to hold the binoculars. So to get a little bit of adjustability, like angle, you can get just a simple ball head. This one was cheap off Amazon. Not using it for fancy photography. But on this, I saw probably on cloudy nights, somebody said, well, if you make a forehead rest, and then one of these companies that makes the expensive hunting binoculars has a forehead rest. They charge a lot for it. I don't know why. Mine was free. But made that out of wood. Just again, trying to get another point of contact. So that hits me right right on the forehead, and it stops the roll side to side. That's one of the problems I have is that if with a monopod, you get this side to side roll. So with that, I reduced that a little bit, and it does a fairly decent job. So also on cloudy nights, there's a guy who came up with this. He said, put you a 90 on there.
Oh,
And he messed with all kinds of stuff. He put 2 of them, he put 1 of them. He likes 2. But when you get to the point where you've got your forehead, 2
Whoops.
hands on this.
What happened? Something happened here. No, it.
I think it just minimized if you hit the upper.
No, it's not it. Oh, there it is.
Bet. The binocular highlights. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really nice. It's the newspaper, the articles out of the magazine. So that's one that I've messed with just to have 3 points of contact, and then I don't hit my glasses either, so I can adjust
That's
it
nice.
to get out in the.
I
away
mean,
from the glasses.
but how long can you hold that without feeling some tension due to the weight of it?
A few minutes. I mean, I've used it for a little while. It's not too bad.
That's not bad. Okay.
Because these are light binoculars. So that's been fun. Well, then when I went to Stellafane last year, they let you do 10-minute talks on Friday night. I thought, okay, I'll do one. And I also had to be able to get there. Sir.
So you make that forehead mount custom fit for the size of your head?
That's right. And for my binoculars, me and my glasses and everything.
yeah, Ed, did you see this? Where you can sit in a chair like that?
And that's
Yeah.
the mount there.
Right.
That's that similar thing. So when I went to Stellafane last year, I thought, well, what could I carry up there in my luggage because I flew that I could use to demonstrate something? And I showed a few different things that I made out of PVC, and including a little flashlight deal. But I took some binocular mounts and kind of figured out you can do this pretty easily with these mounts. So you got the 1 stick version, and then you have what I just showed you on the monopod. But you can also do that with just PVC, so that when you this weighs nothing.
Just leave it there. Yeah, just leave it there. Just put it down in the chair.
Thank you.
So, and I've got that on the wrong side for my focusing hand, but you can get a fair amount of stability just from some scrap PVC and 1 fitting and a bolt. So you've got the twist out of it, and you've got kind of longer distance there. That does rest against my glasses, which I don't mind. It's not the best way to do it, but that is about as simple as you get and cheap and easy right there. I think that's where, if you just needed something real simple for some light binoculars, that's all I would do. But I went 1 step farther and made this goofy looking thing. So you can see what I've added up, all the different shit. So this one combines the short monopod, forehead rest, and the side, the twist hole. And this one is adjustable. So it's not just, you can shorten and lengthen this part, and then you can rotate it up and down, so you can get it just the way you want it to. But you get a fair amount of steadiness out of it, just with that. It works. TSA didn't stop me carrying that on.
Didn't think it was a pipe bomb or something? No,
I was
that's
kind of afraid because I had all these pipe parts in my.
Doing all that work now, you can probably be a certified plumber now.
That's right. None of these joints are glued though. So I have one more mount to show that has been pretty handy for things like the Binocular Messier program where I needed to look at a chart and use binoculars. And that's something that if you're holding them constantly, you can't take your hands off so that you can look at a chart. So this allows you to do that. A guy, again, on a mixture of cloudy nights and the 60 millimeter telescope club on, it's a Google group, a guy in Romania, I think, made some pipe mounts for telescopes. And you remember on this mount, the problem is you get crammed up into your tripod as you try to look up. But he had a telescope mount that had kind of a swing arm on it. And he just did that to make it slightly more adjustable because he had a star diagonal. He didn't need to get behind and under the telescope. I saw that and a light bulb went on because I had this lightweight telescope mount that goes on here. I just needed to get back away from the tripod. And I didn't want to do this because just like if you think your heartbeat's bad, if you're trying to hold a weird position, you cannot do it and stay steady. So I wanted to stand fully relaxed and be able to use binoculars. And the column that goes up and down, and then the distance make it work. And this, I probably get most of my binocular Messier with this thing because I could look at a chart, and look at the binoculars, look at the chart, look at the binoculars. And some of the sketching program I could do because I could look between the two. So no matter where you're looking, if I'm right there, it's the right height. And I can tighten the tension here. It's counterweighted here. I've got a red dot on top, which is helpful because you can just find where you're going pretty easily. But if say something were on the horizon and I want to look at it, I do that. I'm way out of my range there, so I'll work it back down. Now it's going to hit the tripod at some point, but at least you can get it to different heights. You can raise and lower it, but for stargazing, you're going to need it, up about like that, get it over the horizon. And you can look
Now,
straight up.
do you have different counterweights, Ed, for your different binoculars?
I thought I was going to need it, and I put all these holes in this.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Really?
It's
Even for those big suckers?
they don't go on here.
Oh, they don't go on there.
No. So, I mean, if you let off on this is fairly well
No.
done.
So-
and then I put a little friction on there.
So just like a standard 7x50 binoculars fits on there pretty well?
And these are 10x50s.
Yeah,
And I've
okay.
got some 12x60s.
All right.
And they all work really well.
It would be nice if you put together a little how-to on that if you have the opportunity, because I think a lot of our members might like to build one.
Sure. Well, and what I would do and I think that if you had a group that was going to use binoculars or you want to do some kind of workshop, I think that would be what I would go for right
Okay.
here. Because you could, like kids, you could get them, to put that together real quick. And it would give them a little bit of stability and something to do and think about.
But anyone that would like to do what you were doing with the binocular program with the star charts and everything like that, you can't do that with that. So
In fact, bring
Unless
us
you got a good
start
memory.
party. Some of them had.
So that's what I wanted to cover tonight. I'll try to answer any questions y'all have.
Those joints are glued there.
No,
No, they're not. Okay.
description.
On my, I noticed, when I'm thinking about it, on my tripod, when it comes to the top, it's like level, it's got a little disc like that, and this one has a screw on it, but I could use that to set my binoculars on.
Sure can. I think that just about anything that's T-shaped, some people use a drywall sander it screws on the end of a painting pole, and it has the universal joint on it. It's a little bit loose, but it's a nice little platform. They're usually padded with foam. You set the binoculars on there, and you tighten the screws up. You have a kind of an articulated deal. But I think it's unnecessary to have that much articulation when you just have a monopod with a flat thing on top of it.
So what about the 20 by 80 binoculars?
Well, if I don't use those very much, and there are two reasons. If I want that much magnification, I can just get out a little telescope with a star diagonal, because it's going to be dead steady. It's going to have a wide field of view. And I have binoviewers. It's not the same thing, but because you're not getting that dual set of light coming in your eyes. But if you just want to use both eyes, you can put the binoviewers on a telescope, and it doesn't wiggle. You don't have to contort yourself, anything like that. What I have done with that is, if you have a fairly heavy duty mount like this is too light. I mean, it's jiggling, you see that. But I've got, and I haven't used it much, a heavier version of this. So a counterweight and an arm. And then on one end of it, I've got a what do you call it? A tripod head.
Swivel.
That's damped for video cameras. So it doesn't just move real suddenly. You can move it slowly. I've got that on there. I just don't use it because it's so much trouble to haul out and to try to make it work that it's just easier to.
So far, I've tried, got my old tripod, and I got a ram mount, and put a 6-foot bar across it, and the 20 by 80s on one end, the counterweight on the other side, but it's too wobbly for me.
Yeah.
This is pretty simple, but when I've got an object on the ceiling, I lay down on my back and rest them on my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That works pretty good.
But Rocky, you have what is it, 200 millimeter binoculars? Which one? 100 millimeter binoculars.
I hadn't had those very long.
Yeah, but what kind of mount are those on?
They're on a mount that's a swivel mount.
Okay.
It's got the center of gravity back so that wherever it swivels, it stays
Okay.
balanced.
You still have binoculars or don't? You said you didn't have binoculars?
No, I just hadn't had them very long, but I got the advanced double star before I got those. That was hard. But I used a stick like that, but it had a swivel mount on the top. That worked real good.
Yeah.
And I'd lay back on in a chair like you were talking about.
Yeah.
That was my favorite way.
Well, are there any other questions for Ed?
And what kind of telescope mount is that? What do you call that?
It's not made anymore. This is a Unistar by Universal Astronomics. And I think it was a one-man show. I think he made these, and I got it. Somebody had it was a scratch and dent that one of the stores had, online stores, and I bought it. And it's dandy. It does a lot of different things for me.
Less wobbly than that ram mount I bought.
Okay.
Ball joint. Really.
Yeah. One more thing you could do if you were in a hurry, you could, like that monopod deal there, do that. Set them on top of that. Let them ride, or put your couple of stubs out from the T. So just about anything will work, and it's fun to mess around with. But I can't do it from a front yard anymore. Entergy put in 3 atomic lights. And it's so bright I can't even. It's just as hard.
The cat stickers on the floor there.
I don't know.
If you're behind those, the camera has you in view.
Huh?
The ceiling camera has you in view. You have to be
Okay,
behind those.
if you're behind it, huh?
If you're talking to a
If
group.
you're
But
not,
you can actually see a lot of deep sky objects with those 7x35s.
Oh yeah.
You can get, most of at least 50 of the Panther eyes.
And they're nice because you can hold and they're compact and they don't jiggle. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. So what are we going to do next? Yeah, I think we're going to put that off, you think?
Well, I don't know. Is it something that you can do without? I mean, you can use your slides, but you can speak it instead. And the people on Zoom can see the slides.
Oh, really? We can understand.
Yeah. All right, we're going to try some. So as I said, we're having technical difficulties because, the people that know how to use this setup aren't here. So bear with us.
USB on it?
This one here, no, this is an iPad, but you can put the USB over here.
Okay.
No, there's a USB over here.
You'll have your slideshow to go by. Fine.
So you can put it on here and then go to share. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. You're really trusting, aren't you? Well, here's a USB. See if you can find it. There you go.
There's a binocular lens. It's different. You don't get another pen. You don't get one pen for both of them, but you get binocular.
But just put it on the the slideshow. Hang on a second.
There's the two dual stars. Big sky. Binocular lens here. It's like 6 or 7.
All right, now I'm going to, in a second. First off, we're going to share to our,
because you got to use like small
so you're going to your screen. There you are. And we're going to go to.
We can't get it up on the screen.
No, we can't, unfortunately. Well, let's do it this way, because that's what we got. So you should be able to advance it by there, but why are we so?
I think you made it big.
I know I did. How did I do that?
I think Dave said that. It's now.
Yeah, it's
Electronic.
That's a picture now.
There you go. Go for it.
all right.
And just use the arrows to go forward or backwards.
Okay. All right.
This is your microphone.
Here's my microphone. All right. So we're going to talk tonight about Henrietta Swan Leavitt, who is one of the giants of astronomy, on which her shoulders we stand for a whole lot of the modern astronomy. And
Yeah, those of you who are out there, you can put your phone to it.
okay. Okay. She was born on, I guess we'll have to hurry, you're down to 14% on the battery.
Uh-oh.
So moving right along, she was born July 4th, 1868, died December 12th, 1921 at the age of 53, and she accomplished an awful lot.
What was the name again, please?
Henrietta Swan Leavitt. She, let me set the stage just a little bit. We had the Harvard College Observatory founded in 1839. Same year, John William Draper took the first astrophotograph of the moon. And then his son in 1880 took the first photo of the Orion Nebula. And Henry Draper, and you may be familiar with that from the catalog, HD, all those objects. Henry Draper wanted to make this catalog, and he was going to do a lot of spectrograph work and organize the big catalog for the stars. And unfortunately, before he could start, he died of pleurisy. His widow, Anna Draper, she was a pretty rich person, fortunately, and she sent a lot of money to the Harvard College Observatory, then under the directorship of Edward Charles Pickering, who set about cataloging all the stars he could find to catalog. Henrietta Swan Leavitt comes into this in that about 1892 she graduated from what became Radcliffe. It was the Harvard College for women, really. But during that last year of her scholarship at the observatory, she took a class in astronomy. She fell in love with astronomy, and she, a couple of years later, after she'd recovered from some illnesses, joined Pickering's group as a volunteer. She worked for many years, off and on, really, trying to catalog a lot of stars and so forth. She left the observatory, went to Europe, did some other things, and she was sick part of the time, which messed up her hearing. So when she got back from Europe, and she looked around, and she taught in Beloit College for a while, and wanted to do something in astronomy again. So she wrote Pickering and asked if he would find work for her, and he offered to hire her as a computer, as he called them. These were people that were cataloging all the stars that were being photographed by the Harvard College Observatory. Some of them there, and some of them many places across the world, including South America. So Leavitt became a paid member here at 30 cents an hour, which doesn't sound like much, but back then the going rate was about $10 a week for most people. So wasn't too bad, and she was happy to work for 30 cents an hour. What she did and what she's known for is Leavitt's law. She developed the period luminosity relationship for the Cepheid variable stars. In 1904, for Pickering, she started studying variable stars in the Magellanic Clouds, and these plates came to them from Harvard's observatory in Peru. So she studied those. She discovered 1,777 variables in the Magellanic Clouds. These were the Cepheid variables. And she noted in 1908 in a draft report that the brighter variables had longer periods. She didn't do anything with that. She didn't try to quantify it at that time. and she took off for Europe again, and then came back a couple of years later and asked to rejoin the effort at Harvard. Pickering was very happy to get her back, and she started studying the Cepheids again. So she looked in the small Magellanic Cloud and found 25 Cepheid variables that she very carefully measured the magnitudes of and plotted. And she came up with the chart, which you folks can't see, but hopefully they can out there on Zoom, showing that the very linear, logarithmically linear relationship between the period and the brightness of Cepheid variables. She was able to do this because all the variables were approximately at the same distance from her in the Magellanic Cloud. So she didn't know their intrinsic brightness, but she knew that their apparent brightness changed depending on their periods. These stars were very bright. They're Cepheid, classical Cepheid population 1 stars that are yellow giants for probably 4 to 5 times, up to 20 times the mass of the sun, and up to 100,000 times brighter than the sun. So they came in fine from the Magellanic Clouds, and she was able to measure and to give the period luminosity relationship. Then this was in 1912, and in 1913, Hertzsprung found the distance of some Cepheid variables by parallax method. And so he was able then to determine a pretty good guess for the Magellanic Cloud distances. And then later on, Hubble, of course, in about 1923, 1924, he used the telescope on Mount Wilson to find Cepheid variables in Andromeda. And he was able to show that it was a separate galaxy, and really opened up the universe. So she was able to give us the tools to get astronomy's third, the 3D effect, so we know how far things were rather than just where in the sky. This is still ongoing. They're still refining the distance to Cepheid variables that locally, so it changes the estimate of how fast the universe is expanding, how far stars are away. And all this is due to Ms. Leavitt's work. If you want to kind of do some of the things that she did, you can measure fluctuations of Cepheid variables on your own. Delta Cephei is the one from which these get their name, and you can print out a chart from the AAVSO and go make your own measurements. So it's kind of fun to do that. She did some other contributions, and I'll speak of just one. When people were doing photometry back then, the North Star was the gold standard. That was the star that everybody used to measure the brightness baseline for other stars. So what they would do is they would use a prism and mirrors when they were in another part of the sky, and they would take the light from the North Star and send it over to that plate. So they would have on that plate not only those stars, but they would have the North Star. Well, that was kind of unhandy, you might guess. And so Pickering had Leavitt develop the standard magnitude of stars all across the sky, so that wherever they took a plate, there would be a reference star on there. You can imagine that was an amazing undertaking. She discovered, besides that, 4 novae. She discovered about a total of 2,400 variable stars, which was about half of all the variable stars discovered by then. She was working on a new photographic magnitude scale for Shapley at that time, who took over after Pickering. And she was doing that when she died in 1921 from stomach cancer, unfortunately. I'll let you look at those of you that can see it, the memberships and honors. I'll just mention a couple of things here. The Swedish Academy of Royal Academy of Sciences, one of their mathematicians, wrote a letter to her saying that he was thinking about nominating her for the 1926 prize, Nobel Prize of Physics, for her work. This was in 1925. Unfortunately, she had died in 1921. And so Shapley sent back a letter saying, well, it's too late because the Nobel Prize is only awarded to living people. Other than that, she has a crater named for her on the moon and an asteroid named for her. And she deserves it all, because without her, we would be limited to a lot fewer tools to understand the distances and to the stars that are way far away, galaxies. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Made it. Look at that. Okay, well, we're coming into the top of the hour. And I got to say, with a bunch of heads in here, we figured out a workaround to our limitations. Let me see, we're going to stop you sharing. There we go. So I think I'm going to close the meeting because we're all exhausted. All right. Well, thank you very much. And our next meeting, we hopefully will have more people here who understand how to run this system. So thank you very much. Any final comments from the Zoom audience?
Thank you all.
Well, here, it sounded good eventually.
Yep, like I said, it's a little twisted.
I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, take care. And as I said, we'll do like I said, we'll have a greater number of educated people here to get this done. And if I promise to be one of the people that learns how to do it. All right. Thank you.